doing?
He's got the white pieces. You know, he's got momentum on his side. Both games close to victory. Gets it done on the second one. Of course, Magnus Carlsen can do it. But the big question, can Nihal do it? Can he try to take it to that fourth game? And what does he need to do to switch things up?
A lot depends on Nihal's strategy as well. Here we see him, eyes closed, meditating, maybe trying to visualize how he can claw his way back into this match. But if he goes all out with the black pieces, Magnus will get his chance. It's very difficult there. If we see Nihal maybe try to shore up his defenses, lock this game down, escape with a draw, take his chances in the final game with white, then we might see Magnus try to just minimize the risk. And there already the first face from Magnus, as we see the first surprise as well.
You know, Magnus loves a challenge. We saw that with that smile on his face when Nihal declined the repetition. I think he'd want a game on. He's not going to just give Nihal that shutdown opportunity, because that definitely, like you said, David, has to be Nihal's strat here, right? You try to just play it safe with black, get that draw in, final game, go all out. All guns blazing on Magnus with white. I think Magnus will play to try to wrap this up in 3. That's his style.
I've revised my what am I looking out for in the middle game. Previously, I said, okay, it's all about whether or not Nihal Sarin can get that clock advantage on Magnus Carlsen. I'm gonna change that based on what we saw in the last game. I'm going to say it depends on what both players do with their first deep think. Because if we don't see an amazing advantage or maybe a really, really cool complex continuation that puts Magnus in the tank, then that deep think would have been for naught. So I want to understand when Nihal is choosing his moments to use that time and whether he can do that effectively here against Magnus. He's going to need to do that if he wants to win this game.
100%. He'll need to invest that time wisely, need to not fall behind on the clock. Good start to this game by Nihal. He's 1 minute up already.
Yeah.
Quick surprise here in the Queen's Gambit declined. We saw a trade of pawns. Magnus is the king of this pawn structure. He normally prefers it, though, from the black side. We call this the Carlsbad pawn structure, with things locked, at least short term. No real pawn breaks in the middle of the board. And black's light squared bishop coming out. Good news for Nihal. Looks like a very healthy, stable position to build from.
That's one of the aims if you're playing black in this Queen's Gambit declined Carlsbad structure, right? You want your bishop on the light squares, but Magnus with his last move is potentially hinting at a g4 to develop to fianchetto his own bishop and get aggressive. That could be the other way to get the pieces out. Instead, he targets the bishop with the knight and wins it. He's got an unchallenged bishop. That is the first imbalance of the game.
First, maybe of many, but for now, Nihal has to decide how to develop his pieces. We see bishop for knight trade. Black has double pawns. That comes with pros and cons. Black's pawns on the g-file mean that the h-file and the rook there is open. So both sides probably reluctant to castle on that flank until a decision is made by the opponent here.
Yeah, it feels like who's going to blink first. Actually, this is the best moment for the first castle graphic as far as I'm concerned. I'm looking here going, who's going to blink first in this position? Can you go kingside? Well, actually, opposite side castling and launching a big attack is possible if you miscalculate this.
Let's predict. Which way is the black king going? It's Nihal Sarin's move right now.
I predict the black king goes the exact same way as Magnus's king goes.
Yeah.
He goes to the left, Magnus, and Nihal does it first. He gets it on the queen side.
I thought there was a chance maybe that Magnus would react to Nihal and choose to go the opposite side, but no such luck. If it was black, black would absolutely respond to white, but it's interesting that black castled first, Magnus still responded in kind.
Yeah, I think normally, especially for Nihal, who's behind in the match, you kind of want to wait to see where your opponent's king goes. Magnus, because he wants safety first, he's ahead. He's happy to castle on the same flank. Nihal ideally would have gone the other way, no matter where Magnus has gone with his king. He would castle the opposite flank, but ultimately there were no remaining useful moves. He had to commit, and here we see again the V pawn structure, or white's pawns all on dark squares from the center to that right flank, and the black knight sitting pretty on g4 for now.
And it's going to be now about finding plans, right? You've placed your minors where they are. The knight on g4 looking good. The queen on d6 centralized. One of your rook on the open lines. On the e-file center of the board, the rook on h8. Guess what? It's already developed from its starting position. You don't need to move it any further. And if you're Nihal, you need to find a way to either shut down this action, to make sure things remain under control, or create some dynamics. I think he's going to go for the former. He's not going to try to push too many pawns. He's not going to provoke weaknesses. If the opportunities come, he'll take it. But he won't take the fight to Magnus.
But Yeah, because this isn't a must-win game here, remember. If we draw this game, Nihal Sarin will still go to a game number 4. It is still possible for him to take this tie to Armageddon or even win it in game number 4.
It's a must-not-lose game.
It's a must-not-lose game, exactly. So we'll see what happens there. The base of the V is being attacked right now, and some questions are being asked of Magnus. They're saying, look, there are ways for you to swap off that knight, but do you really want to use the light squared bishop to do it? It's such a powerful piece for white right now. I don't think that sort of trade is beneficial.
And a bit of a cool trick here from Magnus Carlsen. He's attacking the black knight, and if this knight moves and swoops in to capture a pawn, it will find itself pinned by one of the white rooks. The black queen will be behind it. That would lose a piece for Nihal Sarin, meaning he needs to either retreat the knight or sidestep with his own queen to defend it. That's a nice little kind of two-move tactic from Magnus Carlsen. Chess is all about these combinations, and that's a nice, effective one.
It's a two-move tactic that's bought him 30 seconds on the clock as well. That wasn't the longest think of the match, but you string 3 or 4 of those together, and it starts becoming problem territory.
Yeah, he forced Nihal to just lose a couple of moves with his queen as well, so costing time on the clock, costing time on the board, and white's queen improves. The white knight might start relocating as well. The white rooks could also find better posts. Nihal's lacking a plan here. Still very much a kind of stable, level-looking position due to the fact there are no pawn breaks, but Magnus surely happy with that scenario.
Here's my question. What's the white plan? Are we going for e4 in the medium to long term here?
It's always in the air, but first you want to improve every single piece of yours, right? And that's what Magnus does. He does double up on the C-line. His queen, he might move it one step forward to place it on an active diagonal. Now Nihal offering some trades, so asking for some decisions here. The one thing you don't want to do is take knight takes knight. That would have ended up in a fork. Pawn takes knight, would have attacked the queen and the bishop. So Magnus simply retreats with the queen, now potentially threatening to recapture that knight with his own knight.
The plans will reveal themselves later. I think the first order of business for both sides is to try and put pieces on as active squares as possible. It's very difficult to kind of open lines. That is the problem. Here we see trying to close the center, Nihal Sarin. That makes sense. Blocking the center will favor the knights, but then again, black has a very strong knight. How to improve the other one? Magnus now goes on the flank.
Well, he's going to be forced to improve the other one in a second. A4 with A5 threatened. This is a route 1 strategy here, but a very, very real problem for black to solve.
And it's one of Magnus's favorite moves, one of Magnus's favorite strategy in this position, especially when your opponent's knight is on the square, as was Nihal Sarin's. It sort of invites the A-pawn to push forward and force it to retreat. It might not stop that. That pawn might even go to A6 to create those weaknesses that white was earlier trying to find. And I think it's so instructive. Whenever these two knights are either on B6 or G6, get those flank pawns moving to start targeting them.
Alfie, the A-pawn, marching forward. It's going to act as a battering ram, trying to open up the enemy king. It's always controversial because you do push a pawn in front of your own king as well. And Nihal Sarin has played such a risky move. It's given a double question mark. This could be the match ending. Magnus Carlsen, the position is so blocked. If he doesn't take that pawn, he might not get a second opportunity. Nihal's taking a huge risk. And let's show what Magnus is now calculating. He'll invest a bit of time. We have time, therefore, to show on our analysis board, bishop takes pawn, taking advantage of the fact that pawn has moved forward. And the pawn recapturing would allow the white rooks into the game. This looks over. The black queen is hit. She's going to move forward with a check. But when the white king steps out of the way, the black king is left to its own devices. I don't really see any way to stem the tide here. We're going to see this play out on the board. There's a huge threat of rook takes pawn, and the black king might just be doomed. Let's go back and show. Magnus is going to show us what's about to happen. Checkmate incoming, potentially.
And he does fall back in that final position with his knight to defend it. Magnus on the attack. If he wins this, Nihal Sarin will be eliminated. His key will get crushed. The queen about to come into the attack. B3, B6, A7. That's game over. B7 checkmate. Thank you very much. I'm going to the semifinals is what Magnus is saying.
Look at Nihal Sarin. You can see the realization on his face suddenly. It's just knockout within a few moves. The only way to postpone this is to throw pieces away. You have to move the black knight out the way to bring the rooks across, but the black knight is trapped. Nihal Sarin, he looks devastated. This is his final moments in the Esports World Cup here in Riyadh.
It's the final few moves of it, and you can see it on him. You look at Nihal, and that's all you need to know about the position. Queen B3, a square that he cannot fight for, a square that he can't stop, and that would be checkmate incoming. Nihal Sarin knows it's time to say goodbye to Riyadh.
He's coming to terms with his position now. Magnus still cool as a cucumber. He was looking a little bit more intense before making that move, and that's because he was busy calculating out, making sure that there's absolutely no rescue. Nihal Sarin looking positively emotional now. The realization of what's happening is hitting him. Unfortunately, his life in the tournament is on the line, and there's nothing he can do now to stop this inevitable victory by the world #1.
This is heartbreaking. It's a quiet move, ultimately, that he'd missed. At the end of that variation, it was 3-4 move calculation to get to here, but he didn't realize that just pushing the rook forward and would end in this devastating checkmate. He might be resigning any moment now, Nihal Sarin, as the white queen coming forward. We'll draw the arrows again to show what's about to happen. This will end the game. The black queen cannot bring herself over to that flank in time. She's cut off from the action.
And it all came down to that one pawn move. And Magnus Carlsen, it barely took any time for him. Nihal about to resign, and there it goes. Magnus Carlsen makes it to the semi-finals.
Magnus Carlsen makes it to 2.5 points, and with 4 points on offer, he crosses the threshold needed to advance to the semi-finals here at the Esports World Cup. A tense draw in game #1, followed by 2 decisive victories. Well fought by Nihal Sarin, but it's world #1, Magnus Carlsen, who advances.